All right. Welcome everyone to our discussion today. I am super excited to have our phenomenal guest speaker with us here today, Randall Rojas. Welcome to
Thank you
our
for having me. I
class.
appreciate it.
Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit and tell us about your phenomenal track record as a leader?
I'm flattered you think it's phenomenal, so I appreciate that. My name is Randall Rojas. I'm a senior vice president with Hancock Whitney Bank in Houston. Um, Bank's about 187 years old, originated in Louisiana, New Orleans, and then part of it in Mississippi. The bank merged about 10 years ago, and we've been in Texas about 15 years. So for them, I do a kind of a dual role. I actually am part of the commercial team where I handle relationships for corporations and businesses, $2 million and up. And I also, for what we call our South Texas district, which is Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Beaumont, I handle the community affairs for the bank. So that encompasses anything from volunteer efforts to donations to relationships with nonprofits, government agencies, state, just whatever's needed in that kind of arena.
Awesome. And you are also really active in the community. And you got a certificate from UH Downtown as well. So tell us more.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you really never stop learning. So when I have an opportunity to get an extra certification that I believe is valuable to just adding to my skills or something that's going to help me learn just a different avenue, whether it's in my career path or my wheelhouse of things I do. But I think when I that certificate came about at the University of Houston downtown, it was just a chance for me to kind of learn the financial part of companies and what people look for. Sometimes what I look for something in the financials, somebody else may see something different. So just kind of learning that different point of view, depending on what you're looking at, is what I was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I love that you said you love learning, and that's something we practice in my class too. Lifelong learning, really, where that's a topic that is really important for leaders. So, what does that mean for you as somebody who has been so highly accomplished, in your sector? What does that mean for you, and how you really pick new employees to be part of your team? What are some of the qualities or values that you look for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think me personally, like I said, I think you really never stop learning. I mean, this world, every industry, whatever you choose to do, I think is ever changing. And I think one of the qualities that you can really build on is your ability to adapt and pivot depending on the things that you're trying to do. So, with that being said, when there's opportunities to learn something, whether it's a culture or a skill, I think it's definitely beneficial to take advantage of that. As far as for team members and the people I work for, I think the things that are intangible that you really look for in somebody is their drive. Um, I think people skills are a very seldomly asked skill in resumes. But to me, people skills and having the ability to communicate in different environments, different places, I think is invaluable because I think learning from books and obviously universities and all of that is crucial and it offers a good foundation. But I think generationally speaking, right now, the things that we're lacking on as we move into these cyber securities and just cyber um, cultures, right? It's the one-on-one attention and talking to people in live action. So I think if you can practice skills just one-on-one talking to people and being able to just feel comfortable with your own skin in different environments, I think that's something that you should really pursue.
Yes, I could not agree more. As a matter of fact, we do talk about also artificial intelligence and how that really influences all kinds of different aspects of business. And I'm heavily involved also in executive HR coaching and leadership coaching. And so obviously we are transitioning into a different time. And, my belief is what we can bring to the table is that human element that you can't, at least not yet, outsource to anyone, right? You have to build that rapport with people and be able to relate to them and find out really what it is that you need so that then, as a stakeholder in a business, you can fill that gap. Um, so I see like all of the different leadership roles that you have held, where this is really like a phenomenal track record. That's why I'm so excited that you are part of this experience and that others can learn from you. But tell me a little bit more about how you became so involved in the community, how you became involved in the leadership council, or really building organizations throughout the community. Why is that important for you?
I mean, I think growing up in Houston, and just being from a Hispanic family background, right? A family helping people, it's kind of embedded in my DNA. And just as I grew up, I mean, I came to this country as an immigrant child, and my parents did what a lot of folks are doing now, which is go through the path of citizenship and achieving the American dream and whatever that aspect their eyes held at, right? Because everybody's American dream is different. But I think, being part of the community and having those folks come out and help, whether it was with languages or just studies, education, family matters, I guess that had a big impact on me growing up. And so when I had the opportunity to be part of the community, whether it's as a board member or volunteer efforts or just a chance to just work with other people in the community, I take those very seriously. And those are valuable learning experiences, right? And there's just so many things out there. My personal feeling is that you can achieve almost anything you want to be, and you can achieve anything you want. But the experiences along the way are really the valuable lessons that you take from everything you do because you can't replicate those. You can't buy those. You can't you can't get those off the internet or the web or even some classes. You just have to live those as they come and then gain some knowledge from each one of those.
Yeah, and you are the prime example. I would imagine, with your phenomenal background, but then also the culture from your family and having that kind of dual cultural experience. That is one of the reasons also why I was so excited to have the opportunity to speak with you and for you to share out, because part of what we concentrate on here in this space is really also fostering that global cross-cultural intelligence, as I call it. I've done a lot of research on it. I myself have lived in 4 countries. And so I feel that as a leader and as an executive leader, bring so much to the table with these two cultures that are natural to you. So, what advice would you have for students that want to obtain that experience or have a little bit more knowledge of different cultures? What would you say?
Well, I think we're very fortunate to be living in a city like Houston, because and I'm sure many of your students and yourself have always heard the phrase, we're a melting pot of just cultures, right? And so I think, as we take a look in our city, we can go almost anywhere and be just transform or pose into different countries, right? We can go to the east side of our community, and that's a mainly Hispanic area. The west side, we can go and have some great, Chinese and Asian food and things like that. So, I think it's always been a goal of mine when I'm dealing with my different customers and just different people in general to really look up their culture and be respectful not only when you meet somebody and you have different transactions or interactions with them, just also from my own personal knowledge because there's just so many little things that different cultures have. It's always been interested to me, and so something that you and I may look at as offensive, another culture may look at as inviting, and so I'm always proud of myself. And when I'm meeting with a new customer or a new organization, or as I'm interviewing, uh, folks to join the team or anything like that, I really want to get to know where they came from, what things drive them. And I mean, I think that makes a successful team and also a successful leader, right? Because you have to lead. You hear to lead by example, and that's great. But personalities matter, and so I think mashing the personalities along with the skills is kind of what gives you a successful team.
Yes, absolutely. I could not agree more. I'm so happy you brought that up. But also from a standpoint of a business, right? I mean, a bank, right? Caters to different portions of the population. So why is somebody like you in a high level leadership role so valuable if you want to think about strategically tapping into these different pockets of customers or potential customers?
Well, I think as a society, we're so fixated sometimes on looks, right? That the first appearance is important, right? But if you really translate that and kind of move that to the side and focus on just where the person came from, what's important to them, what their background is, foundation, especially for us in the banking industry, because there are so many different businesses out there. And that's one of the things I enjoy about my job the most is one day I could be talking to a professor at the University of Houston, and the next day I'm talking to a CEO. 2 hours later, I'm talking to somebody just starting a nonprofit for something they feel very passionate about. And so the mix of all of that, and at the core of it is just really the people. So getting to know the people that you deal with and getting to know how those people are built, I think it's key.
Yes, so well said. So when we're talking about the people, and you've already hinted at that to you, it's really important to look at the personality behind a person, right? What are their experiences? What is their uniqueness that they bring to the table that you can tap into as a leader? So how would you then go about really creating a team, and what is your leadership style? How would you describe it?
So building a team is kind of like building a puzzle. To build a complete puzzle, you have to put the pieces to match just right. You can't have six corner pieces. There's only four, and vice versa, right? So you really need to look at the team that you're dealing with, whether it's internal, recreation, or whatever it is, and see who complements the other person. And that's only achievable if you really get to know the people on your team. And I think, my leadership style has always been to get to know the team members and the people I work with, personality wise, because skills can be acquired. So, you know, in the banking industry, financial skills are very important, but you can always learn something. You can always learn how to do different ratios. At the end of the day, math is a universal language. So, you could always pick and choose different formulas and achieve the same goal. But if you really look at different personalities, there might be two personalities that just don't match, or maybe there's some personalities that do match. And so, kind of working on that aspect of the team, and from a leadership standpoint, I think leading that way, not just only by example, but just you can't talk to everybody the same way. You can't ask somebody to do something the same way. Um, you know, I remember one of the best leaders I had asked me, what motivates me? What is it that motivates me, and how can he help me get that? And to me, it really opened my eyes. This was quite a while back, but really opened my eyes because it it showed me that he really wanted to know what drove my passion or what actually got me out of bed and into the workplace every day. And so I try to model my leadership style the same way.
Phenomenal. I could have not said it any better. Terrific. My last question for you would be, so if anyone, let's say they don't even have any experience in banking, but they're really interested and intrigued and motivated by what you've said, because there's so much to really unpack. You have just scratched the surface on so many different aspects that we actually talked about. So I'm so happy that they are able to hear it from you. Um, so if you had to kind of package it in a way like somebody with maybe little experience or no experience, and they really wanted to get into the banking industry, or maybe even with your company specifically, what would you advise them to do? And also, if somebody had the goal to eventually rise up to the level that you are at, what would you tell them where to start?
So, just personally speaking from my kind of path, I came into banking as a just as a teller, so entry level teller transaction. And quite honestly, I came from retail, and so working long hours retail every weekend, every holiday, just got tedious after a while. So somebody mentioned banking. I love working at a bank, right from the start because you learn all kinds of things. But my path was just kind of eventually moving up to different positions. I think primarily, if you're interested in working for a bank, is really getting to know all the different aspects that form a bank. So most people think it's just a teller, the bankers, the folks that you see at the retail locations, but there's so many different departments and moving parts to making a bank successful. We've been part of having a revamped internship program for the last 3 years. And one of the things that I always hear from the interns is, like, wow, I didn't know I could do that and work for a bank. Or I didn't know I could be doing this and work for a bank. We have folks that all they do is design templates and marketing materials, and they're part of marketing. We have folks that all they do is uh, decipher raw data and analytics. We have folks that just love, I mean, math. Not that I don't love math because I do like it, but I don't love it. But they love math, so they spend most of their days just doing formulas and ratios and making sure that these companies that we talk to are profitable and coming up with models. So many different aspects. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. If you really want to be in banking, um, you know, I've always said that sometimes you got to take one step back to take one leap forward. So coming out of college, my mentality was I don't know if I thought maybe the day I graduated from the University of Houston, I was going to have just this line of folks knocking on my door offering me jobs, right? And it wasn't the case at all. A lot of my just friends in school and different students went back to doing restaurant work and all that. Not that that's not great, um, but I think really looking at different organizations and industries um, right before you graduate or while you're in school and then get to know all the different parts because every industry there's a lot of moving parts, right? And it's not just what you see. So just getting to know what you really want to do. And honestly, I've been in banking industry over 22 years and I still learn new things about banking. And I never, I think, woke up when I was a kid and said, well, I want to be a banker. You know, I think that the closest thing that I had when I was a kid is I knew I liked dressing up and I wanted to wear suits. And I thought in my mind, wearing a suit was a sign of doing well and power and that kind of thing. So I knew I wanted to wear a suit. And nowadays, culturally speaking, we don't wear much suits in banking anymore, especially in
Mhm.
Houston, Texas, where the weather changes from one day to the next. But again, just kind of learning the different moving parts and seeing playing to your skills. Everybody's got something that they're good at. Just recognizing those skills and fostering those. For me, is talking to people and meeting people, and I've been able to work on that. So
Amazing. So find your superpower is your message. I love that. That could have come from me. Actually, we've talked about this. Finding your superpower and finding your strengths. So amazing. I loved everything that you said, and I promise we did not have a conversation beforehand where I indicated what we will talk about. So everything just kind of unfolded naturally. So I'm super thrilled and so thankful and grateful for your time that you've shared so many important insights and really advice for anyone wanting to step up as a leader or step into your footsteps. And I am super grateful that we've had the time to discuss that today and get to know you a little bit better and find out what you do. So, thank you so very much for sharing this time and your insights with us today.
Of course, thank you for having me. It's like I said, I'm flattered that you want to speak to me and you feel that the things I've done so far have had value, right? And personally speaking, that's helping other people is really important to me. So whatever I can do, if any student wants to reach out to me, please share my information, or if I can ever help you in your class out again, I'd love to do that.
Awesome. I absolutely will. Phenomenal.